Welcome back to Channel 9 Live. I'm John Papa, and we're here all day. No, actually, I'm just here for a half an hour. So we're going to talk about Silverlight with a bunch of good fellows here next to me. And what I want you to do is text them. Yeah, why don't we tweet our questions into pound Channel 9 Live. That's pound CH9 Live. Please do that. We'll get a bunch of questions queued up. And while we're waiting for everybody here, I'll introduce our Silverlight TV episode number 69, our 69th one here today. We've got three great guests. Let's start here with the shiny man, since everyone blinded by the light.
Yeah, you like
wrapped
that?
Up like a...
It's my Azure suit. It's because I'm all in.
You're all in. So who is this gentleman here? What do you do?
My name's Ward Bell. I'm VP of Technology at IdeaBlade. We make a product to help you build applications that consume, they're data-driven applications, and they consume them on any .NET client.
So you use a lot of Silverlight type stuff to build cool apps.
Silverlight is definitely it. It's
so you know something about that. And you also have a session here this week, don't you, at MIX?
I do. There's a lot of interest among people who build business applications for the desktop in how they could have a presence on the phone, and I'm going to suggest some thoughts that they should keep in mind as some sort of guidelines for how to think about that.
And so people can watch it online later. What's the title of your session so they can look for it?
It starts with all thumbs, and then goes on from there.
All thumbs. Yes.
All thumbs.
Just look for the man with the shiny blue shirt. And we got a guy who needs no introduction over here. What's your name, sir?
I'm Laurent Bugnon.
Laurent Bugnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm a director of user experience integration for Identity Mine. I, had my session, so I'm now in.
And what was your session?
My session was Deep Dive MVVM, which
good.
was pretty much a continuation of what we did last year, which was an introduction to MVVM. So this time we went really all deep with a model view model. And the idea was to, I collected so many emails with questions about how do you do that, from people who had seen the first one, that this year I went and I answered those questions, hopefully, satisfactorily.
Right, so folks who don't know, you did a session last year, a very popular session on MVVM, one open call, but the voting that all of you out there voted for Laurent to do last year at MIX was very successful.
Yep.
It was kind of more of a beginner level MVVM, and this year, much deeper dive.
Absolutely,
which, It was a packed house.
It was, I was lucky to have a full room, so I was very happy about that.
I think there was a reason it was full. I think you were pretty good.
Well, what I liked is that I could see people nodding along as I was talking, which meant that they got it, and I got some excellent questions after the session, which means that they are using that stuff in production. And that makes me very happy. So yeah.
And that's great. And you and I also recorded a Silverlight TV episode.
We did.
That will be on the air in a couple of weeks too.
That's very good. I'm looking forward to see that again. Yeah.
So not to leave anybody else out, we've got a third guest over here, and you are?
My name is Luigi Rosso. I'm the CTO at Archetype. We do a bunch of stuff, rich interactive applications, a lot of Silverlight work, both on the desktop, online, and on the phone.
And just to explain to everybody what he does for a living, what he does is he actually works out. He's a personal trainer of Scott Guthrie. He's the one who gave him the six-pack abs in the great 3D demo that we did in the keynote today. And you guys had some other roles in the keynote, did you not?
Yeah, we did a couple other things. We worked on some of the stuff yesterday, and we worked on a couple different products and things that are going to be available soon, libraries and such.
And the demo that I did today was actually written by Luigi.
The house builder.
The house.
He forgot already. We've been through the keynote. So definitely want to get you all. Thank you for coming on. Anybody out there on Twitter, you want to tweet your questions about Silverlight. We got a 3D expert. We got business application experts and a guy with a blue shirt who happens to be a very good friend of mine. So I'm going to tease him incessantly throughout this whole interview.
Thank you, John.
Please tweet Channel 9 Live, CH9 Live. We'll get some of your questions on air. So we've got a lot of stuff going on at MIX here. Would you guys give me your impression about the keynote?
Today's keynote absolutely rocked. The Silverlight 5 stuff, because I'm going to talk about the Silverlight stuff.
It's Silverlight TV?
It is Silverlight TV, and it was wonderful to see all of the solidity of the Silverlight 5 coming out. The 3D stuff, I think, really excited people. But the knockout for me, and I think for many people, was the Connect demonstration with the astronomy. It was so moving.
What a blast.
It was one of the most moving demonstrations I have ever seen.
It was amazing.
And anybody who missed it, they got to go see it.
Very intense.
Definitely. That was one of the best keynotes that I've ever been involved with. It was pretty fantastic there. So we have our first question from Tim Hewer.
From our friend Tim.
Yeah.
Tim Hauer. I'll mispronounce his name on purpose.
He must be German or something.
Yes, he must be.
I must believe. Yeah.
I think he's at the Not at Mix at Twitter right now. So the question is from Tim Hewer. Question for Ward. Does Barry Manilow know you raided his wardrobe?
He doesn't yet, but I hear the police are on their way. So this is going to be a very brief interview. I'll be out of here soon.
So those who don't know, Ward has a general theme of showing up at these events in very extravagant outfits.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have. Oh, geez. So yeah, the keynote we did a lot of good Connect stuff and
Yeah.
Silverlight. What did you think about the Silverlight stuff in the keynote? Laurent?
The Silverlight stuff was great, and in fact, if I can say that, I think what was shown was great, but don't forget that there is even more stuff coming, right?
Yes.
In the
I showed
beta
4
already,
features.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
And there is even more stuff in the beta coming up, which, I mean, I do MVVM stuff, and a lot of things that were added in Silverlight 5 beta, which is already available now, will definitely help people who do especially a lot of things with bindings, for example, with the binding debugging. You have Ancestor, the find mode, to go up the
so
visual
can you
tree.
explain what is the find
Sure.
relative source find ancestor? What is
Exactly.
that?
So when you do a binding, you always have a source for the binding, and the source is an object which is going to be, where the property lives, which is, the value of the binding, right? And you have different ways to assign that object. One way is to say just source equals and then a static resource, for example, or you can do element name.
Which you need a static resource, yeah.
And there is one which is a little bit less known because it's very new in Silverlight. I think it was introduced in Silverlight 4 actually, which is the relative source, right?
Right.
And relative source allows you to find an element relatively to the place where you are in the visual tree. So the one in Silverlight 4 is a self, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
now
now
that was in WPF, the new relative source find
yeah,
ancestor.
so all that is actually coming from WPF, so it's fully compatible. And the new one in Silverlight 5 is a find ancestor, which allows you to walk the tree and to go and say, okay, I know that I am in a grid, so let's go and find that grid.
Let's explain why this is, because we're telling the technical thing, but
Sure.
The classic case is the combo box, where you've got, let's say, an order and you want to know the status, and it's in a grid, and you've got orders, and the row in the grid has to show that it's the current order or shipped order.
Mm-hmm.
But where did you get the list of options? Well, they're somewhere flying, they come in from some source
And
way
they're
up
not in
high.
the data context
They're not in the
you're in.
data context, and you can't reach them, and therefore you can't bind to them. So binding the list in the combo box is the classic example,
Yep.
and we've had all kinds of workarounds, and we cut right to the chase.
And this makes it really, really simple to do. And actually, I think it was used in the keynote demo. We didn't mention it,
No,
but
it
when you
wasn't
download
mentioned.
that code, that's in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally in there. We use it for the combo box actually on that construction list at the end. All of the different options for, say, the doors. We had different materials on the doors. Instead of having to go into every single view model and populate a list of doors, we had a list of available doors in the construction list, which was a big object that contained all the individual items. And then we just did ancestor, find source, we went to the...
Now, everybody's
to the doors.
snoozing at home. They're thinking we're talking about combo boxes. But, this
Combo
is what,
boxes are cool.
this is what we do
makes
all
it
day
so
long.
much easier.
We
It
do
really-
this stuff all day long,
A lot of
yeah.
these features that came out in Silverlight 5 really do help make your life easier. That's kind of the point. It's not the whiz bang, but it makes your life easier, especially guys like us here.
Yeah.
So let's get back to some of the questions. We've been getting a couple of tweets in at Pound Channel 9 Live. Thank you very much. So we've got some questions from Martin Trodson. I sound like I'm speaking like Aaron Burr. So we've got, is it possible to use smart cards to authenticate login in SL web apps? So can we use smart cards to do like authentication or login? It's like RS readers or anything else like that. Has anybody done or thought about that?
Go ahead.
So we actually tackled it in a few different ways, and I think that the best answer that we found so far is doing it in the web app and then letting the credentials go through to Silverlight.
So doing it in the web app, which has access to the certificate that it's using.
Right. Particularly in IE, it works very well. It's a problem that I think that's the best way to tackle it. That's the best solution that we've found so far. I know that there are a lot of other paths that people have tried and have taken and have explored, but it gets very messy and very, very complicated.
Right, I can imagine a lot of enterprises would like to use something like that.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests from our clients for that, and that's definitely something that's
Imagine.
very important to solve.
So basically, the server, you get all that stuff done, and then the server creates some kind of a security context that it sends down to the Silverlight application on the client, and the client says, "Yeah, that looks good to me," and then it
Silverlight
goes.
plays nice, right? So it's just
Yeah.
tacking along.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, cool, great. So you got another question here. It's one from earlier today from Soulless Swede. I love that. That's great Twitter handles. Tell us about the supported 3D formats. Are Collada animations supported? So I mentioned earlier in an interview with Scott Gu, and this came up, that I would defer this question to Luigi when he came on.
So this is a low-level 3D API. You can support any format that you want. What we built for the House Builder app, which is actually going to be available as open source in, I believe, end of the month or so.
Soon, yes.
Soon, yeah. we built in Collada support. And the reason why is because Collada is a really good format. It's an interchange format. It can get your models from one package to another really well. It supports all kinds of data structures, all kinds of also animations and so on. What we built is basically just model support. Textured models. We have a couple sample shaders in there. We have a basic shader that just supports normal UV texturing, and we have a normal mapping shader that you can also use. And we take care of generating tangents and binormals and all that stuff in the importer. But right now, it's just geometry. There's no animation. But you could very easily add that in. There's no reason why you can't.
Are there any other model formats that we could use? What are some of the other popular model formats?
You could take a look at FBX. You could take a look at .x. There's a lot of other formats. Collada is nice and easy because it is XML, and so it's very human readable. It's easy to open it up. It's highly, highly supported by a lot of different platforms. So you can get them out of. I think we were using Maya and Cinema 4D, but you can use almost any platform out there that has a plugin for Collada.
I think the great thing about the application that you built goes on. I know we built this application over the last, 5 or 6 weeks, right? Yeah. But over that time period, you spent a lot of time, because I put a constraint up front of make it so it's reusable. It's a real-world app. It's got MVVM built into it.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
And you can load models. And looking at the code, it's very obvious where you're loading the models and how this works. So it should be extensible.
Yep. Well, the models are actually data bound in. We have a view model of, I think there's a house selector view model that has a list of all the different houses. There's simply a path to where the DAE model lives, the Collada format model lives. And we load those up, and it's actually loaded asynchronously, so it's coming through a web server, and then we load down the textures and so on. We actually load the shaders asynchronously too, so you can change them at runtime.
So can you explain a little bit to people out there who may not be into the deep level 3D? What is a shader? What's a texture? What are you talking about with those?
So a texture is something that, if you imagine at the most simple level, if you have a 3D polygon, which is 3 points, let's say in a triangle, a texture is something that gets mapped on top of that. In order to make that look like something, you could just fill it in all purple.
So think of the polygon as some kind of a wireframe that you're putting together. And
exactly.
Then you put the texture on top.
The texture is the detail. It gives you a lot of detail in its information. It's the visuals that actually get shown and then warped in 3D space. Now, a shader is something that gets applied onto that surface to make it look however you want. You can sample from a texture. You can do a lighting equation if you wanted to, and you can combine textures. You can do all kinds of things. The shader gives you the freedom. The pixel shader, at least, gives you the freedom to make that look however you want. The vertex shader, instead, transforms things. It puts things in 3D space.
Right, and the vertex shader is what you're using to rotate the house.
We're using that for the camera, exactly.
The camera angle.
In that model, or in that demo, we're using it to set up the camera. We're sending over a couple of parameters like the position of the camera, the orientation of the camera.
And all this can run on the GPU, which is the great part.
That was the amazing thing.
Yeah.
It really moved so smoothly. Yeah. As you were piloting your way through inside the house and turning corners and seeing Scott go on the right, he was wearing a blue shirt.
Yes, he was.
What happened with that?
Even though the texture was actually pretty complex because you could see the cracks in the concrete and everything, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I had to talk to the real estate agent about that. That's why I got that big discount on the house. So, that's really great. So again, we got some more questions coming in from Pound Channel 9 Live. We got KD8FWV. Any possibility to access the read and write reports for human interface devices? That's from Eric. Anybody doing any access for read-write for HID devices?
I'm not quite sure exactly what the question is about, but if you have, if they talk about devices, right? So you do have COM access, right? So that might be that.
So maybe like pen readers, for example,
yeah, exactly.
Pads or any other kind of.
Yeah, so a lot of our customers do that actually in elevated permissions through COM.
So you can do that now in Silverlight 4 through elevated permissions in COM.
Yes.
And in Silverlight 5, you have other options.
Yeah, exactly. In Silverlight 4, you have to be outside of the browser in elevated permission.
Sure.
In Silverlight 5, you can do that in the browser with elevated permission, which is pretty cool because it allows an even simpler mode of delivery for the application. So that's quite nice. Other things coming up are the socket support, right, which opens, of course, the possibility to many things, right, many additional things, right.
Okay, great. Yeah. That's great. So we got a question here from Caleb Jenkins. Hey, Caleb, how
are you, man?
Yeah. Hey, guys, anyone doing any unit testing with RIA services and MVVM?
Yeah. Well, unit testing. So
what's testing?
Yeah. Well. So unit testing, basically, what you want to unit test, it really depends how you do your application. And usually when I use MVVM with RIA services, what I do is that I consider the RIA services as being really a data service, which I'm going to call from my view
Right,
models.
it's irrelevant
right?
what data you're getting it from.
Exactly.
Research is just a place to give you data.
Exactly. So what I presented actually yesterday in the session applies to that too. You know, if you consider your RIA services, your domain context, etc.
Sure.
A high-level data service, if you want, you can consider that as being what you're calling, right? And the view model can be tested just by abstracting that, basically. So
Right,
that's
if
the
you
same,
abstract the services
yeah.
out of the view model, you're just testing the methods in the view model.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
generally, I mean, that depends, of course, on moving the persistence interaction out of the view model, so that so there's
Right.
an abstraction there, a repository or a data service
Exactly.
or whatever you want to
Some
call
guy I
it.
know did a really great session about doing services and abstraction with MVVM.
Could have happened.
Oh, I
sure
don't
who it
know his name.
Yeah.
Selfless and shameless plugs.
Is
you
that
know?
the guy whose book is served to put monitors on? Is that, you saw that tweet, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I saw a lot of tweets during the keynote too. Oh, after the keynote, I wasn't tweeting on the keynote.
Oh, really?
But about the prison uniform that I'm wearing today. So yes, they let me out of the yard. It's where I've been doing my exercise lately. Anyway, let's move on to another question here. Soulless Swede. I love that title, man. That's great. Do you expect any 3D loaders to be added to the Silverlight toolkit? That's a good question. So 3D loaders themselves, which right now, let me explain this. What I think was really asking is in 3D, we've got the low-level APIs that we were talking about, which gives you a lot of power and flexibility. But it may not be as simple to get up and running in some cases to do things. So it'd be nice to have some wrappers, if you will, to help load some of the models.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can answer being the toolkit or not. I don't think we had plans of the toolkit yet, but I know you've got some things in the works.
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about getting some of our stuff out there, open sourced. So I think that's definitely going to happen. If it's the toolkit, that will be phenomenal. If it's through some other
that's a good
avenue,
idea.
that's
But yeah, it'd be great, because when we started talking about doing the 3D models, we didn't just want to write a 3D demo, throw it out there. We wanted to have both an example people can follow, and then something they can use to reload. So you can
Exactly.
actually grab the code.
Yeah,
that you wrote.
we wanted to get something out there that actually was reusable and that was robust enough so that you could actually use it with a bunch of different formats, which is why we chose Collada to start with. I think it's the natural one. It could definitely, the actual import process that we do for getting the mesh into a hardware-friendly buffer is applicable to any format out there. So basically there's two libraries. One library is our Collada load library, and then another one is the library that does the mesh processing. That mesh processing library could be used with any other loader out there. So you just need to build another importer and you're in good shape to plug
Yeah, and
the
I didn't
data in.
show the code. I mean, show the code briefly, but in there you've got a library called Pina.
Yeah, it's our
for
Pina
the
Colada
like
library.
a Pina Colada, and then you got a library. There's another library in there called xna.math. Would you like to talk about what were included in that?
Well, the XNA math library is something that comes from XNA, and that's essentially all the power of the existing XNA math library, which is phenomenal. Any kind of geometric operation that you need to do, matrices, planes, vectors, and so on, that's all in there.
So you don't have to figure out how to do that. You just use
it's
that
in there.
library.
It's tried and tested. It's been used for a long time in XNA. It's very powerful.
That's the stuff that makes Ward and I,
Yeah,
old
yeah,
guys,
yeah.
actually feel better. So.
My trig is a little old.
You still need to do your own collision detection, but that's a discussion for another library.
So can I ask you a question about the delivery of this? And I'll lead into it because I know, for example, Laurent, your MVVM Lite is now deliverable through NuGet.
Yeah, for a while, actually.
And I'm seeing a lot of interest now among the Silverlight community in being able to get some of these packages
That'd be
into
very
there.
cool.
And so is any of the kind of stuff that you're talking about, is that a possible delivery vehicle? Does that make any
I
sense?
don't see why not. I think that
Can
would
you
be...
do that this afternoon,
This
Luigi? Is
afternoon
that
would be
okay? We'll like it now.
Yeah. Maybe we can just pimp the community a bit, right? And I love your stuff, right? But there is the Boulder project,
Yes.
Yes.
which is really a very well-known project, right? And I just saw that
By Einar. Einar,
Einar, yeah, exactly. Who is also a
Einar,
Silverlight
great job.
MVP, actually released a version which works with
This
the
morning.
Silverlight 5. Yeah, exactly. So he had that prepared for a while, and he hit the publish button this morning.
It's amazing that he knew Silverlight 5 was coming out today.
I don't know how they
Release
know
it.
that. Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you have all these people who have this amazing clairvoyance.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, Einar's
And I think Boulder is
fantastic.
cool because he can deliver to a number of platforms.
It's amazing.
And now including Silverlight 5, which is
So
pretty cool,
Boulder
yeah.
isn't a competitor to Silverlight 5's 3D. It's
No.
actually a helper in a lot of ways to enable 3D.
Yeah, exactly. So when I talked to Einar about that, what he said is that the thing that is in Silverlight 5 3D, and I think you agree with that, is really, like you said, it's a low-level stuff, right? It's an enabler for the high-level stuff that other people like you, like Einar, are building. And there is a striving community.
And we're talking
so,
Boulder, B-A-L-D-E-R, if anybody wants to
Exactly.
go out there and look for it.
Yeah, not
great.
Not like, somebody who is
Not
bolder
getting
than
bolder,
somebody
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me, was that a joke about hair loss?
No, I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare.
We wouldn't go there.
We didn't make it that far already, so anyway, now Oh,
Okay, there is a precision on the HID device. So.
Yes. So.
Oh,
there's a
right,
question. What I mean is we have our own HID device and don't want to install COM. So could you use pinvoke to interface with HID devices?
Well, I suppose. I mean, if the so pinvoke is in Silverlight 5, right? So there is a way to use
with full
that.
trust.
Yeah, exactly, and that of course gives you the full the full responsibility and the whole power and the whole responsibility which comes with that, right? To access pretty much anything you want, right?
And so if I could kind of sum it up, I guess what we're really saying here is that could you interface with HID devices using like the Windows 32 APIs and Silverlight? Yes, you could if you're running full trust.
Yes.
And then you're running pinvoke, and you knew what those Win32 APIs were.
Exactly. And the good news is that in Silverlight 5, you don't have to be out of the browser anymore to do that. You can do that in the browser, which opens, of course, a whole range of possibilities.
Right.
But it's still full trust, so you have to...
Right, and the corporate policy has to allow it.
The user
so those
has
of you
to,
out there who don't want people running pinvoke, you can stop that, right?
This isn't for your home user creating their flower shop.
No, exactly, exactly. And the user has to accept that. So there is really a security thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So we talked about some of the things in the keynote. What did you like about earlier stuff in the keynote? Windows Phone. How did that come across?
Earlier, so the phone. I wanted to say something about that. Actually, the phone amazed me because we've been doing phone work for a long time, right? And I knew a few things that were coming up, so I was excited about that. Actually, we did a couple of the demos that were shown. So I was really excited about that. But
your company did the IRC demo, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So Joby, one of our developers, Joby Joy, did that. Great.
He'll be on Silverlight
thing.
TV next week.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. He's a great guy, really, and very talented. But the thing which amazed me is that you managed to surprise me with additional stuff that I was not even expecting, and that was so cool. I mean,
so what kind of additional stuff did you?
Well, like the XNA composition that we saw, these kind of things. We might have heard about it, but to see that really working.
How'd you like that emulator? The new emulator.
Oh, the stuff with the emulator.
Yeah, the new emulator. So the new emulator,
so
I knew about it because I had the chance actually to work with the guys who do the tools to do some kind of user research, and I gave them some tips on how to improve the user experience. So I knew about that, but I didn't know it was going to be released. I didn't know it was nowhere near ready, And when I saw that, and then you have the tool where you have the simulation of the geolocation, which is great because I don't want to always be in Redmond, even though I like Redmond, but I'm in Switzerland. I want to be in Switzerland.
It's nice. So now in the emulator, you can actually simulate the geolocation somewhere else, as opposed to always being in Microsoft Campus.
Yeah, exactly. You can also simulate the orientation. You can simulate the shake.
And the movement of the location is really cool. I think that's being able to
get
events.
What kind of scenarios does this enable? What kind of scenarios does this?
Because we're running out of time, I wanted to throw in a hey there for the live tile stuff because for a business
phenomenal. Yeah, the deep linking to any section.
Yes, for a business application guy, that's exactly what you want. You got that order.
So you don't just go right to the front of the application. You can link right into a particular application.
That's going to be so useful
for us. So that's
fantastic.
And the other thing which personally makes me super happy because I had an application that I couldn't do because of that, the possibility to have those agents, and then to have them ping back the application after half an hour or maybe 20 minutes before you have to get on the train. You just send.
It really is much more interactive now. So you can just quick
and it's all on the phone.
And
it's all on the phone because you can do that with push notifications, but then you have to set up a server, which is very difficult.
And you only got 16 before.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just don't need to do that. There's a quicker way.
Yeah.
And here it's all local. We have lots of questions coming in here. Just you can tweet us here at #SailOnline Live #CH9 Live on Twitter. So please send your questions in for these fellows. And I did want to take a quick moment to talk about the Scott Guthrie rotating model that you put on the phone, Luigi. That was something you did on desktop earlier.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we did for Firestarter. That was the model.
So how hard or easy was that to go from desktop over to phone?
It was actually surprisingly easy. We did have a guy who's very good at getting models loaded and working on them and tweaking them and such. And obviously there's different, on the desktop, that version of the model, that application runs with a very, 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 very high resolution model. And you can tell it looks great. But I think that we actually got it to look, if not just as good, we got it close to as good on the phone. And the nice thing is that on the phone, you still have access to all the XNA importer libraries, right? While for the Firestarter, we had to build a custom importer. For the phone, it was just XNA. So we just went back to, I think it was in Maya that he was working, worked the mesh down, exported FBX, imported an XNA, and it was ready to go.
And the perf on that was actually pretty darn good, looking through there.
Yeah, the animations were really, really good. I was really surprised to see that. You know, when the camera positions were interpolating and stuff, that was really, really fast. It was
A little bit
very
too
happy.
fast at one point.
At one point, a little too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Too
think
Fast.
so. Yeah.
Are you referring to the point where Scott gave everybody in the front row a little?
Yeah, pretty much. He kind of flashed
close up?
everybody in
I
the,
thought that
in
was
the audience.
that was
right?
a setup, or was that actually? I don't want no answer to that, but I loved it. Everybody loved it.
Why are you interested?
I don't know.
I don't know. It kind of blinded me for a while. So I was like, oh, you know.
No, that came off really, really well. There's a lot of great stuff that came out with it. Well, what kind of work are you going to take advantage of from Silverlight 5 with your company now?
Well, because most of the stuff is business, and we haven't yet wrapped our heads around 3D and how to bring 3D to business. It was some of those other kinds of features that we were talking about that just make the platform more solid and easier to work with. You know, that's why we were droning on in the beginning about the combo box, but that stuff matters to us.
What about
Yeah.
the debugging?
Oh,
What do you
and the
think of
debugging.
that?
The debugging is so cool because, you know, that has been a killer for many people for a long time, is to not know why your binding isn't there. And
Your output windows saying binding exception or something. and you're
yeah,
wondering,
but it's
Yeah,
in
data
there amidst
error.
all the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
stuff.
data error.
You're
Yep.
looking around for
I've
it.
got 50 fields bound. Which one is the
Yes,
problem?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you cannot
exactly.
see it, especially if you're desperate. You cannot see that one letter off, the misspelling, the capitalization thing.
Imagine if that
That's
happens
because you
over
don't have your
Keynote.
glasses.
Yeah, it could. I can't see anything. I code blind anyway. You know,
Which is good. You can put the helmet now because you saw the Kinect demo with the helmet
yes.
thing. That was so inspiring.
I'm
you
going to
know.
program with that.
Yeah,
Keynote
that's
demo
pretty
with the
cool.
helmet
Yeah.
was pretty
I'll just,
awesome.
it was so
and
cool,
I love
really.
the lounge chair though. Who doesn't love that? When I can get the beer that way.
That was great. Clint was awesome in there, although I did
Yeah.
suggest him that he create the electric chair instead of the lounge chair originally.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, there was a little bit of liability we
Yeah.
were putting together with that.
Yeah, I met Clint just before the demo, and I told him to break a leg, which is what you say, you know, before they go on stage. And he told me, well, you know, I might. So, yeah, now I know why.
Yeah, we were a little concerned about Clint going into this. So.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got to top it off. You know, last year he had some great stuff. This with the
Yeah,
t-shirt
I don't
the
know.
Canon, yeah.
I don't know how you're going to top that. That chair was just. I want that chair.
I don't know. I suggested maybe some kind of levitation flying
Yeah.
outfit, but
Okay.
he wasn't too hot for that yet.
Okay.
So cool. So I want to remind everybody we have some great stuff coming on. We got Pound, Channel 9 Live, lots of questions who are coming in early.
That's a hash.
Hash.
Yes.
Sorry,
Hash.
International. International. It's a hash. They changed it. It used to be at Channel 9 Live.
Okay.
They're trying to trick me. So we got a question here from Roy Cornelissen.
Right.
Will some of the new phone APIs, such as local database, also be available in Silverlight 5? So the new feature in Windows Phone we had was basically instead of just ISO story, now you can do SQL Server CE and do offline storage in there.
Yep.
You know, in Silverlight 5, the answer to that quickly is, and I'll take one of these, if you guys don't mind. Basically, in Silverlight 5, we're working on figuring out what features are movable from phone. It's definitely something we're looking at. It's not something we're announcing at this time, but you know, if we have good use cases for it, and is this something something interesting to you guys to see in Silverlight Desktop?
I think there are, you know, it's always a question of how can you really enable the community to build something which could do that, right?
Should the Silverlight team do it, or is there anything in
Yeah.
the community now?
Well,
Well,
there's
there is
Sterling.
Sterling, you know,
We're all talking
obviously,
Sterling.
right?
Jeremy
Sterling.
Lickness.
Yeah.
Go check it out. Sterling, Jeremy Lickness project. It's in
Yeah.
Codeplex.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great offline database
so,
that we use.
So the question is, you know, always the same with those framework issues, right? The question is really, what can you do to make the life of the people who do the, you know, the open source stuff easier? And then after that, if there is still a need, right? I think the real reason maybe why the SQL thing was added on the phone is that people who come from Windows Mobile are really used to have that.
They're used to having SQL
Exactly.
on the Windows Mobile.
And I saw a lot of people in the community complaining about the fact that they didn't have it yet, you know. And now they have it, so they are happy. Now, for people like me who come from the Silverlight side of things, who are actually used to do things a little bit differently. So we work a lot with
Sterling works
services.
on Silverlight and on phone, right?
Yeah, it does.
So that's
in
a great
addition,
option.
it does. Yeah, so that's a good option. So personally, I would even, I think I would prefer to see rather an enablement. Is that the word? I would rather see you enable.
Do the things that we can't do, and let
Exactly.
us do the things that we can do.
Exactly.
Because there's so, you know, we're out there to support the success of Silverlight, and we need the foundation. So work on that foundation.
And I think we have time for one more question. So let's take this question here from That Joe G. I remember you from earlier. Ward, this is a question for you, Ward.
Yes?
Put on your data guy hat. He doesn't. Well, you want to see the hats he wears. Your thoughts on SQL Server CE support?
my thoughts on.
Yeah, I think earlier we mentioned here, maybe you build a lot of enterprise data type applications. Would that help any of your customers?
Well, absolutely, because performance is really important, and a lot of our customers have the sort of relatively static data that they would like to keep on the client. And so the ability to get it down there and leave it there and not have to go back to the server to get products, to get the various long type
And it's
lists.
got a link to SQL API.
It's all sitting right there. So with a product like ours, which can simultaneously look both across the net and at the local resource, maybe good things could happen
It
for
took
you.
him a half an hour, but he got
I
the
had to get
idea
it
of
in
the
there.
product.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you
it'll
got
be
to say
stored
something.
robustly. There will be easy ways to index the
absolutely.
data.
To access.
It's just-
Because ISO store is fine, but it's really hard to work with.
And one thing we have to remember is that, here in the US, you're very, very connected. In Europe, we are not as connected as you, so we need solutions to work offline.
Connected meaning the network connectivity with the phone.
It's not. First of all, it's not as good as here. Second of all, I'm in Switzerland. I'm very fast in Germany, where I pay like 10 times the data plan because I'm roaming. So I don't want to do that. I need my data on the phone. So anything which is making it easier is really welcome.
That's great. That's great.
And performant.
And performance.
Performance, which was the other phone thing. The fact that your application has a chance to still be live, in memory, if not turned on, so that when you switch back, that's the other thing I really took away from the phone demonstration today.
Yeah, really phenomenal stuff coming. with
The phone, it seemed like almost every feature that came out with the phone today was related in some way to performance or speeding up the application.
Well, that's the
multitasking,
major
the phone.
criticism, right? That's really the major thing that people are talking about, right? Like the scrolling thing, and you did some work in that, right? And
That or Marketplace, that's the other one, the Marketplace
Yeah, well, the
stuff.
Marketplace is another thing, yeah, for sure. So it's a huge improvement. The whole decoding. One thing which for us was really hard, right, is the whole decoding the picture on the UI thread. Which is, the major reason why our list box don't scroll as fast as they should, right? Like in the Twitter app, for example, etc. And that's going to just enable us to make much better apps. So yeah, kudos on that.
Cool. So what kind of applications do you guys see yourselves building in the future with Silverlight?
I can start. We are actually going to build a lot of Slate stuff in the near future with Silverlight out of the browser, most probably. Possibly with WPF, because WPF is still a first-class citizen of the
WPF
PC.
still around as well?
Absolutely.
You
so
have
usually
choices.
You have choices,
You do have
exactly,
choices.
and it makes sense to use WPF from time to time. I said WPF 3 times. I have to tell it 5 times.
I'll say it for you.
Okay, cool.
Click your heels.
WPF.
Okay, let's go.
So we turn to WPF TV. Well, I want to thank everybody. We've just run out of time here.
Sorry about that.
Thank you guys, Luigi, Laurent, and Ward, Shining Blue Man. You just started the Blue Man group, right? Thank you all for coming on, and we have another segment coming up very soon. Thanks a lot.